Hey class, today we're going to finish out the axial skeleton. So far we've talked about the skull, we talked about the vertebral column, and today we're going to finish it out by talking about the thoracic cage. The thoracic cage, also known as the bony thorax, protects organs of the thoracic cavity, or in other words, your chest cavity, such as the heart, lungs, and any major blood vessels that come off of those structures. So again, we should recognize that thoracic, again, is going to be our chest. It consists of three parts: the sternum, the ribs, which we're going to talk about true ribs, false ribs, and floating ribs. And last but not least, it also includes thoracic vertebrae, which was talked about in the last lesson. We're going to first focus on the sternum, also known as the breastbone. The sternum is a typical flat bone, which means we have two things of compact bone, and it's going to smush the spongy bone in the middle. The sternum is also created from the fusion of three little bones. Those are the manubrium, the body, and the xiphoid process. So again, these three bones fuse to form our sternum/breastbone. The other thing to know about the sternum is that the first 7 pairs of ribs attach directly to the sternum through costal cartilage. The other thing to know about the sternum is that it's very close to the body surface. If you feel in the center of your chest between your pectoral muscles, you can feel your sternum covering your heart. Now, the sternum is a flat bone, which we learned in part 1 of the skeletal system, that this is where we can find some red marrow in adults. So it's easy to obtain samples from its blood-forming tissue, and we can use these samples to diagnose blood diseases. We call this a sternal puncture. However, sternal punctures, we try to avoid them at all costs because since your sternum is situated really close to your heart, it's over your heart, protects it, we don't want to accidentally puncture the sternum and hit your heart because it is such a vital organ. Typically, when they take red marrow, they focus on the end of your long bones or your epiphysis of your long bones, such as your hip bone, where they can get some of that red marrow. Here we have a picture of our thoracic cage. We are focusing on the sternum part, so we have our sternum right here. Again, it's made up of 3 bones. The manubrium is our first bone right up here. The next part is our body. So our body is going to include this part right here. And then we have the xiphoid process, which we have the xiphoid process points to down here. Again, note we have 3 bones that fuse to make your sternum. The other thing I also want to show in this picture is how the ribs articulate with the sternum. It said the first 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Notice these ones all directly attach, if you follow them, directly attach to the sternum. Even this one down here curves up and attaches directly to that sternum. Next, this is going to lead us into our ribs. Now, there are 12 pairs of ribs that form the walls of your bony thorax or your thoracic cage. Like we said, some of those ribs are going to articulate with the sternum. However, all ribs actually articulate, and when I say the word articulate, I mean join. All ribs do join with the vertebral column posteriorly. So posteriorly means behind. So all those ribs are going to connect to your vertebral column behind. Then they are going to actually come around the sides and start to curve downwards and towards the front of your body. Each of those ribs get different names based on how do they attach or do they not attach to the sternum. The first 7 that actually attach directly to the sternum are called true ribs. The next 5 of those 12 pair are called false ribs. They are called false ribs because they attach indirectly to the sternum or they don't attach to the sternum at all. Specifically, the 2 false ribs that do not attach to the sternum at all are called floating ribs. So if I bring back that picture, we have over here, we have some false ribs. If we look at this one, we see the rib curve forward, it goes up. Notice this cartilage does not actually directly attach to the sternum up here. This cartilage attaches to the other cartilage of the rib above it. And we see that for the first 3 false ribs. And then down here we have floating ribs. Notice that there is no cartilage at all and they don't even touch the sternum. The next thing to note about ribs is that there are spaces between ribs called intercostal spaces. And these are actually filled with intercostal muscles, and the whole point of these muscles is to help aid in breathing. So if we look over here, intercostal spaces, again, are the spaces between the ribs where all those muscles are going to be located. And that is actually the end of today's lesson. We do not cover thoracic vertebrae because those were covered in the last lesson. So it is relatively short. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask, and I hope you guys have a great day.